Howdy, y'all. It's Free Cracked here. It's actually quiet today. I guess the prevailing winds must have aircraft going a different direction. I don't know. So anyway, so I'm videoing. It's actually not horrible. This is this is horrible. This is like the third video I've shown this. So if I actually posted all these videos, then you know the story. But it was a problem yesterday with Moods. Moods isn't thriving, but oh well. He's an aged kind of cat. So, show and tell. Challenge Rock from Water Creek. The problem is, as you can see, there's a big crystal crack, kind of healed, that runs all the way up to there. So basically, what I did was, everything on this is percussion, and when I was doing this part, I just percussed hard, set it up right in one shot, you hope, up along it. So all that stuff, you can see kind of a flake scar next to it from the end. All that stuff I was trying to shoot pretty far along there. And then, so I punted, I tried to get the edges and get this to where it's like a Friday blade or something like that, and have it stop right where that crack got right to the edge, because I figured it wouldn't hold if I started, moving inward on it more from the side like that. So anyway, that was strategy on that. This was done because I was trying to be quiet during music night at a nap-in. So I grabbed a flat flake, fairly thin flake of novaculite, and tried to, bring it in, get rid of all the spare amount to it, and sharpen the edges bifacially on both ends, and then put a base on it. I'm trying to make a little kind of thick on the top, and it's way thinner naturally so on the working edge. But you'd be surprised how careful you have to be to not break stuff like that. And basically what I always try and do is I try and push across or in line with the strong plane of the thing as much as possible. And that's how you don't break this stuff. It's just keep your point clean, burr-free, because this is heated material. Burr-free point on your flaker, and oh my gosh. And that was on international video. I think I broke the sound barrier with that sneeze velocity. So anyway, yeah. At the other extreme, I've been doing a lot of exclusively, I posted this on Instagram before. I put a light amount of like lemon oil on it. It killed the intensity of the little hinges, but this is unheatable, unworkable gunmetal novaculite from Arkansas, and kind of a challenge rock that somebody thought I needed to deal with. I made a gunmetal novaculite point one time before, but that was several years back, and so this is all percussion scars. And actually, it's pretty thin and pretty sharp, so I thought this was kind of good out of that, really. So then along those same lines, I don't know if you can even see the scars on this. Let me try and focus it. I don't know if I can get it where you can see the flake scars. This is raw Keokuk. And so that's always a challenge. I cannot recommend that anybody try to work that stuff. There are just certain materials that raw is not not your friend. What was the deal on this? I think this is lightly heated novaculite. I don't remember. That was a nap-in thing too, but it could be raw, it could be lightly heated or whatever. But anyway, that's all percussion too. I've been doing more all percussion work lately, just number one to spare my physicalities. But now this is kind of cool. This is heated novaculite, and the goal here was just to, you know, flatten it and thin it out with percussion, indirect. You know, I always do direct first and go to indirect. That's Springfield Burlington, and I was just working that and just stopped and put it down because I was being watched too closely and just didn't feel like finishing it. Still haven't felt like finishing it. I ought to put a Dalton base on it, but then again, it's all indirect, so it's not really technically correct, but oh well. I don't know why I'm showing you this stuff. Okay, this was a demo, and here's the deal. You might be able to guess how I did this. There may be slight differences, but the concept was similar. This is pressure work. This is right-handed pressure work. This is right-handed pressure work that looks like it was done left-handed. And if you notice, there's not really any delta retouch at all on the right-hand side, and there's a little bit of delta retouch on the left-hand side, but there's not really any big bulbs of pressure. And just generally speaking, it's fairly non-standard looking for pressure work by righty. So anyway, I'll let you figure it out. The flakes are fairly wide looking too. Wide and no retouch on deltas, you know, what's up with that? Okay, so changing paths. This is a Federnalis point, old preform, and the base had been put on it, and it was in the process of being further reduced. And somebody didn't know how to support it right, and they took a big old, almost overshot flake off here that went off before it got to the edge because of the contour. But then this overshot here wiped out this whole side. So there was some kind of finger pressure or something, or leg pressure or something, however that was being done. If it was being punched on support, then that would explain it had back edge support on it that caused it to dive. But anyway, I love in-process old stuff, so that was a special thing. I get most of my old stuff from Andy the Artifact Acquirer. I like this little blade. It's very thin. It's very sharp. And like so much of the old stuff, when it wasn't a projectile point, they didn't care that much a lot of the time about perfect balance or symmetry, because you need those things when something's going to fly through the air and you don't want it to deviate from its course or whatever. But you don't need those things if you're going to be doing linear cutting I mean, the structural strength is affected, but if you got a real thin blade, you're not worried that much about the structural strength anyway, because you're planning on using it along its strong plane, or you wouldn't have made it that thin. Except for modern day knappers that want to make a lot of stuff really thin regardless of how it's supposed to be. It's not supposed to be anyway. I'm just being feisty. It's supposed to be however you want it to be. Okay, so here's another deal. See if I can get this where you can see it. I like stuff, artifacts that appear to tell a story. The first part of this story is obviously it's been glued back together. But to me, what it looks like happened was over here where these things were made, these guys were make it or break it kind of guys. They got after their flaking, and they did big time heavy percussion flaking, even on thin cores or thin preform. They wanted the tool they wanted, and they were going to get it or they were going to break it and start a new one. And they probably worked fast, so that probably isn't as big a deal as it is to modern knappers that might work an hour or two and then break it. I think these guys were getting after it. But anyway, so what happened, looks like he was working on it, got this side fluted and everything, got the base put on it, doing some big old thin and flakes across it, and it looks like had stuff going good. Still left a little bit of cortex on the tip, which I always love that. But at some point, to me, it looks like there was a problem on the edge right here. If I can focus on it. It looks kind of battered. And I think what was happening, let me see if I can show you. It looks like maybe antler work on here was getting it, didn't have enough force initially and was battering that edge and got it kind of chewed up and set up some flaws in the edge. So then when this punch flake was taken right there, I think due to flaws in that edge, it ran high, it ran undercutting here and started that transverse or radial fracture, tearing fracture that just ran through the preform here and cut it in half. And then what I think probably happened is the old boy threw one or the other of these halves, may have thrown both of them as hard as he could in disgust, or threw one of them as hard as he could or whatever, and they landed in different places. I can't remember how far apart I was told that these were found. But they landed in different places with different soil chemistry. And over time, this one got the white patination. That's actually from being in a highly alkaline environment that takes away some of the surface. It's a desilication kind of patination. And the other piece didn't get that. So anyway, that's my story. I'm sticking to it. Prove me wrong. Really, actually, don't prove me wrong. That would be upsetting. But I think I'm gonna go away and come back because it's already a 13-minute video. Bye for now. Freeze crack.